I'm going to be ranking removed World of Warcraft features based on whether they should be brought back and updated or whether they should just stay removed and ignored. So this also includes things like Archaeology, which are obviously still in the game, but Blizzard has stopped caring about them and updating them. So yeah, and let's jump right into it with class halls. And to me, I would say class halls are an S tier, and there's a few reasons I believe that. I think class halls serve to strengthen the class identity in World of Warcraft, which is something that we hear all the time, right? People are like, where's the class identity? I want to feel like I'm, you know, playing my class, like I'm role-playing as this class, like I am a mage, right? And I think sometimes we've had moments in World of Warcraft's history where it feels like all the classes are just kind of very generic, or you don't really feel like you're playing the class that you're playing on another level. It feels like you could just play something else and do a similar thing, right? And so we get this very heavily in classic World of Warcraft, which is why I think a lot of people love it. And then when we had class halls and we got all these different artifact weapons and stuff in Legion, I think that was probably the strongest we've had class identity since classic World of Warcraft. And so it seems like since then, it's kind of just been ignored. They're like, yeah, class halls are there. You can go back to them if you want, but like, there's no real reason to go back to them, right? And so I think there's a missed opportunity here. I think they could really play into class halls. They've done things like the Cantina in WoW Midnight, and people go to that, and I've went to that, and I'm like, this is okay. But, you know, I think people still want that kind of class identity and a place to go with all the other classes, right? It's like when you go to your class hall and you see all the other druids, you're like, hey, it's all my other druid players. What's up, guys, right? And you're all walking around the Val Shara or whatever together. And it's just, it feels kind of cool. And I think that's one of the things that's awesome about MMORPGs and like role-playing games is you do get that experience and it adds to the flavor of the game. And I think there's certain ways that you could actually go about doing this that don't have to be crazy, because it seems like Blizzard drops this type of feature because they're like, oh, it's like there's a whole bunch of class halls to update and it's too much content to do, right? Whatever, blah, blah, blah. But it seems like all you would have to do is add like a quest or two every now and again, right? Maybe that, I mean, I think when they did the heroic talents, they kind of tied more into the class specifically. That would have been a cool time to go back to the class halls and have like quests to unlock heroic talents or to unlock different things related to your class, or even just cosmetics or something cool where it's like, hey, you can go get a, you know, some sort of enchantment thing for your class or some sort of specific cosmetic like that. It feels like there's just a missed opportunity here, right? And I feel like bringing that back would just add to the class fantasy that a lot of people really want and strive for, and that sometimes feels like it's lacking. And so I think class halls are just like the perfect thing to build upon and not just ignore. And I mean, you already have so many assets there, right? So I wouldn't even think it's that hard to do. But again, I'm just some YouTube guy. I'm not an actual game designer, so what do I know? But I would like that. Next up, we have glyphs. And glyphs are another one where I'm going to put it in the A tier. And here's why. I think glyphs are kind of on the same level as class halls, but not quite. Because I think glyphs have a great not possibility, but like the potential to be a really cool cosmetic thing. And they kind of did this for a while, where let's say you're an inscription person, right? And you're making these glyphs, and then your glyphs are just cosmetics. Like that's the whole point of glyphs, is cosmetics. So I think back in Wrath of the Lich King, when they introduced glyphs, a lot of them were not cosmetic, and you had to get like different glyphs that were like min-maxing and stuff, right? But then it did hit a point, I don't remember which expansion it was, where you would just get things like, hey, this changes your druid form, this makes you swim slightly faster, like things that matter more for like exploration and being out in the world, or just cosmetic stuff, right? Maybe it's like, hey, this glyph makes it so your elemental looks different, right? This glyph makes it so your warlock pet looks different, right? Like these types of things. And I think this is another thing that can add into the class fantasy on top of just strengthening professions. right? I feel like having this type of system really makes you feel like you're customizing your class and like you're really adding to your class and your character. And sometimes it feels like we just don't have that. And I don't know what it is, but I always enjoyed that type of thing. It's kind of like when we lost the ability to put talent points in. And it was just like 5 talent points and you would just pick like one of 3. And then we actually got all the talent points back. And there's something about just being able to be like click, click, click and like kind of customize your build. There's a reason games like Path of Exile have like a billion different buttons. And I don't want that much. But I think the glyph system actually it's a really strong type of system to allow for customization. And I even saw on Wowhead like years ago, some guy made like an entire like glyph customization thing. It was like, I don't remember how long ago it was. It was like probably a few years at this point, but it was like change elementals, change your skins. You'd be like an undead gnome. You could like do all this cool stuff, right? And I think that's just really cool. I think having customization options, especially in the modern game where there's so many things to collect and so many cosmetics anyway, like why not bring it back as this cool cosmetic type of thing? So I would put it in the A tier, but I don't think it's like like I would still rather have class halls, and I think you could probably even tie some glyphs and class hall stuff together. But I really do like that. Archaeology. Now, I'm gonna put archaeology in the B tier. And I think it's because, to me, archaeology it's fun. Whenever I would do well, I say fun. It's not like that fun. But it was kind of just a nice, like, mindless thing to do to grind out stuff. It was like this mindless type of profession thing. And there was like some stuff here and there with archaeology where I was like, that's kind of cool, or like, that's kind of confusing. But I think it's still an interesting concept. And I think they played around with it a bit in even Dragonflight, where there was the little like archaeology events. And it felt kind of weird that they just had the entire archaeology profession still existing, and then they did archaeology stuff in Dragonflight that didn't tie into it at all. It felt like a missed opportunity there to like retool it or rework it to be something better, right? And I still think the opportunity's there. But I think I just miss having these types of professions around. And some people aren't going to like it. Some people like it's boring, it's dumb, whatever. But it was just cool to have something like, hey, go out into the world and like look for these artifacts and explore. You might get some mounts, you might get some cool stuff. And it's just like, you know, you're putting on your archaeology hat and going out looking for fossils, looking for weird relics. And I think, again, there's an opportunity here to have something as like a cosmetic engine, right? You go out into the world, you do these archaeology things, and you dig up fossils, and it's like, hey, you got some sort of cool cosmetic or a pet or a mount. My big driving factor for a lot of things is just mounts and pets and stuff and transmogs, because that's what a lot of retail WoW is just collecting. And so having these professions, I think, are great opportunities for collection. And so I don't know. I think they could make it a little more interesting, but at the same time, like, I wouldn't care that much if they didn't bring it back, but I would think it'd be cool if they brought it back in some way with some improvements. So that's why I'm putting it in the B tier. Next up, we have pet battles. Some people love pet battles. I know a lot of people love pet battles, but I was never a big pet battle person, so I'm gonna put it in the C tier. I'm the type of person where I prefer to go out and just click on a pet and catch it, right? Like I don't really like the Pokemon battling aspect of the pet stuff. Plus, sometimes I would just like fight a squirrel and kill it or like something. I'm like, I don't want to kill a squirrel. I don't know. I just want to catch it. So I didn't really like that aspect to it. Now, that being said, I do think it'd be cool to have the option for people that want a pet battle to like just still pet battle, right? Like keep the ability to pet battle. And I thought they did a cool thing with pet battle dungeons and all this stuff, but I guess the interest wasn't there, so they just kind of scrapped it or got rid of pet battling. But it's one of those things where I personally am not a fan. I would rather just go around, click on a critter, catch it, and be like, cool, it's mine. But again, there's plenty of people love pet battling, so that's why I'm not going to put it in like the D tier. But for me, it's just a C. Skyriding. So Dragonflight, Skyriding, this one they actually stopped doing pretty recently. I think this expansion, they did it in War Within a bit, but to me it's like, it's a C. There's a lot of people that love Skyriding and Dragonflight riding and all that stuff, but I would do it if it was like a world quest, you know what I mean? Like if I saw it out in the world as like a thing for a world quest, I'd be like, hey, I'll do that, that's pretty easy. But I was never really that interested in doing them. But then again, you know, much like pet battling, I saw a bunch of people, like I love doing the dragon flying, I love doing all this stuff. So I don't know how they would change it. I feel like they've already tried some different stuff, and they tried doing, you know, like Kalimdor dragon riding, or not, well, you know, the courses. We obviously have flight, dragon flight, flying, and whatever, right? You get what I'm saying. So it's just, it wasn't a big thing for me. Like, it was okay, but I don't really care if it came back or not. So yeah. Server events. So obviously the biggest server event was AQ40, right? And we haven't really had anything like AQ40. Whoops, I moved the thing. Since then, I feel like there's been some like server style events. Like, I guess the closest would maybe be like pre-patch events and stuff like that. But nothing on the same scale as AQ40's pre-patch or pre-raid event, I guess you would call it. I would probably put this in the B tier, and here's why. Because I think the actual event itself is kind of boring in a way. Like, when you think about it, it was just getting a server to be like, go gather materials out in the world. It was almost like prepping for a raid, with people just gathering a bunch of flowers and a bunch of fish and a bunch of stuff like that, right? But at the same time, I really love the aspect of just everybody on a server or like a community working together and like kind of competing with other servers. I think that's actually cool. It's like a once in a while type of thing, right? And I guess it's harder to do now because obviously the servers are all kind of merged together into big groups, and they're sharding and like all this different stuff. But I guess you could still group a bunch of servers together into the kind of, you know, sharding groups that they are, and have them compete against each other. And I just think it would be cool to have some sort of big, like, event between all the servers, whether that be collecting things or doing just something. I think it's a cool concept. I don't really know what in particular, and I don't know if I'd want it in specific, like, to specifically be like gathering flowers and fish and shit like that, right? But I think there's something to be said for just a group effort, people coming together to try and achieve something. And I feel like even in the modern day, this is something that people would love to do in terms of like people be streaming it, like, you know, battling our server against these people's server, or like doing this type of thing, or like maybe you pick a side, even that type of thing, where maybe no matter what server you're on, you could like pick a side. I guess that would also lead to some issues because some sides would be like higher than others, and then people would be like, my side's winning. So there are a lot of different issues, I think, making it happen, which is probably why they haven't really done any more with it, right? But at the same time, I do think the concept is cool, and I really do like the idea of it. So I'm gonna put it in the B tier. Next up, we have socket bonuses, and honestly, socket bonuses to me, I would put in the B tier. It's not something that's like I really want it to come back, but at the same time, I always liked socket bonuses. I thought it was cool, right? When you'd be like socketing your gear and you're like, ooh, I have to get the socket bonus. I don't know. There was something about that like just tickled your brain the right way. You know what I mean? Like, ooh, my socket bonus. And I don't really know why they got rid of it, but I think there was something to it. There was something, and I'm sure there's other things that we get now that are similar to socket bonuses or maybe enchants and stuff like that, but I don't know. I always like those types of weird things, especially on gear, where it's like, I could do this thing and ignore the socket bonus, but if I do this specific thing, then I can get the cool bonus. And it just, again, I think it adds a little flavor to the game and the gear and stuff like that sometimes feels like it's lacking in the modern game. I don't know, and it might not be lacking, but that's just what I feel at times. So yeah, I would put it in the B tier. Next up, we have old school kind of roleplay elements. So I put the arrows and stuff here. But this also includes things like feeding your pet, you know, poisons, you know, those types of things where you had to actually go buy the arrows or buy the poison or feed the pet, right? And this one I would actually put in the A tier because I think it does tie into class flavor and RPG elements. Now, I wouldn't bring it back in the same way because I already know there's people that are gonna be like, I don't want to buy like 800 arrows for the raid, right? And I don't think I wouldn't bring it back in that way, but I would bring it back in a slightly tweaked way. So for example, you used to have to feed your pet or it would run away and abandon you, right? But I think it'd be cool where now you have to feed your pet and maybe, you know, every hour you feed your pet and he gets like some sort of bonus. Like he's tankier or he hits harder, but he's not just gonna like run away, right? I would lower the floor of what bad thing happens, but I would also have it be like maybe like there's some sort of fun thing that's going to occur, right? Like maybe if you're making poisons with the reagents that you've bought, the poisons actually hit harder or the poisons last longer, or maybe if you bring arrows, right? Maybe your arrows kind of a similar thing. Maybe they'll hit harder. Maybe you could have like specialized arrows, just like I think the big thing here I'm trying to get at is I think it's cool to have to go buy some sort of reagent or interact with your class in a specific way to give yourself some sort of a bonus. And I think by doing it this way, instead of being like, you know, uh-oh, my pet ran away, or uh-oh, I can't shoot my arrows anymore. It's kind of like you can still do it. You're just not getting like a max amount of effort. Or you can even like cap it in some way where maybe it's like, hey, you know what? Once per battle, you know, you can pop one of your arrows and get like this cool thing, but then it kind of becomes like an ability, but it's like a consumable ability at that point where it's like, oh, okay, I had to, you know, craft this or buy this and now I'm being able to use it. And I think that's kind of a mixed one because there's definitely gonna be people that are like, I don't like that, right? But I think there's plenty of people that are also craving that type of thing, that type of RPG element added back into WoW that, again, ties more into class flavor and class identity. And I always enjoyed that. I thought it was cool when you had to feed your pet. I thought it was cool when you had to go buy arrows and be like, oh my God, I had to go get some more. But again, I'm the type of person who plays Animal Crossing and likes doing little like, you know, like go find this thing for Tom Nook type of stuff. So I, you know, that might just be a me thing, but listen, this is my tier list. All right. So I would love those types of things brought back. Next up, we have, oh my God, what is this? Oh, this is guild levels. I mean, personally, I thought guild levels were cool, but I don't really care. And now it feels like it feels like we kind of still have it in a way. I think guild levels don't fit the modern game anymore, especially with Alliance and Horde being able to team up now with you know, so many different guilds just being like you can be in like multiple guilds on different, I don't know, it's just it feels like it's not as impactful as it used to be, like especially with servers not being like server specific stuff. I don't know, I think the concept of guild levels was cool, and I kind of like the idea of like working together as a guild to earn different rewards, but we almost have that now with endeavors with housing. It almost feels like that's kind of on the same scale where you're working together to earn rewards and get different stuff. So I almost feel like they've repackaged guild levels in a way in housing endeavors, not like completely the same, but kind of a similar premise, you know what I mean? So yeah, next up we have Reforging. I had to like look here and be like, what is that? Oh yeah, it's Reforging. I think Reforging I would put in the A tier. And I was looking around and I saw a lot of people wish that Reforging was back in the game. And I always thought it was cool, right? You could just reforge one of your stats that you don't really need and be like, oh, I can replace it with a better stat. But I've even heard people say that one of the reasons they don't want Reforging in the game is because it keeps you like grinding for gear longer or something like that, which honestly I could believe, right? They're like, oh, if we give people the gear they want faster, they're going to stop playing the game. But then again, I would argue if people aren't having fun, they're going to stop playing the game. So like, just let people have fun, I think is what it starts to boil down to for me. Like, I think they need to stop trying to min-max some of these things and just be like, hey, you know what? Even though people might play the game slightly less, they're having fun and they're more likely to come back and more likely to interact with the game in various other ways that maybe don't involve gear as much, right? There's plenty of things to explore and go do out in the world and stuff like that. So I thought Reforging was cool, and I would gladly welcome Reforging back. I think would be a great addition back into the modern game. Then we have Garrisons. And I mean, Garrisons is in the D tier for me. We don't need Garrisons back. They were a bad idea at the time. Well, they were like, initially they were kind of cool, and then it removed you from the world. It made it so you didn't have to go explore anything. You just did everything in your garrison, and it just, I mean, player housing is just better than Garrisons, and it just... Garrisons were just a failed experiment, man. Like, they didn't even allow you to build garrisons wherever you wanted. They were like, hey, you can build a garrison in any of the zones in Warlords of Draenor. And then it was like, never mind, you can only build it in like one, depending on your faction. So even that kind of sucked. So I don't like garrisons, and I don't want them back. Speaking of garrisons, we actually have the mission board here. And... the mission board is another one where I don't want it back. It was just mobile game type of stuff. It was like busy work. It's like, go send out your mission board character to go do something and check back 30 minutes later. It's like, okay, cool, I got something, I guess. Yeah, mission boards just sucked. I hated mission. I can't believe they were in the game for so long. It's like 4 years or something, right? That they kept mission boards in the game. They were in the game in Shadowlands, you know? I don't know. It's weird that they kept it around that long. But I do have followers on this list, and I'm just going to rank followers now because I have a different opinion with followers. I would put them actually in the S tier, which you might say, whoa, hold on, followers in the S tier. But I thought the follower concept was cool, not for the way they did it, which was like, go send your followers off onto missions and do all this stuff. But I thought it was cool to like accumulate followers that you helped out in the world and then have them kind of interact with you on a real basis. So for example, right, let's say you go out on a quest, and I remember there was one you had to like rescue some Taran guy, and then he was like, yo, thank you so much. I'm going to be one of your followers. You helped me out on this quest. I'm going to hang out in your garrison, right? And I was like, how cool would it be if that guy was just one of your followers now, and maybe you could gear him up with stuff that, you know, I wouldn't earn it through the mission table, but you earn by going out into the world and, you know, maybe doing old dungeons, old raids, old content, and earning gear for these characters. And then those characters could actually help you in like various ways in dungeons or delves where, you know, we have follower dungeons right now. Like, how cool would it be to accumulate a bunch of followers and then have those followers help you in the follower dungeons? I was like, that would be so cool, right? And you could maybe invite your followers to your player housing, so the followers would just hang out in your player housing area the same way they hung out in the garrisons, except you could like position them in different places. Maybe you could be like, hey, you know what? I unlocked this guy or this girl or whatever, and now I could have them like stand and be a bartender, right? Maybe you unlock a gnome girl that's like, yeah, whoa, and then you like put her as the bartender, like she's dancing on the bar, like, you know, stuff like that. And I think that would be really cool because you have this kind of interactive system where the followers are people that you've helped out in the world through questing and interacting in the world. And then you also have the ability to put them in housing. You have the ability to have them help you in dungeons and like so many different ways. And I just think that'd be really cool. So I would love if they brought back followers and just made it in that style instead of whatever they were doing before. Artifact weapons. This one is another S tier for me. I loved artifact weapons, and getting to do them again in Legion Remix just made me realize that I still love artifact weapons. And one of my biggest pet peeves is that they did the artifact fishing pole, and it was so cool, and I loved Legion fishing, and it was like some of the best stuff for fishing that they've ever added. And then they were just like, all right, whatever, scrap it. And I was like, you kidding? Dude, I loved art. Like, it was essentially just like artifact weapons, but for fishing. And I was like, why couldn't they do this for like other types of professions? I just thought it was so cool. I loved artifact fishing, and the way fishing was in Legion, and then they just like ruined it for no reason. But not only that, like artifact weapons were cool in general. So I think even if they did the same type of artifact weapons system, but with different types of weapons, maybe you had like legendary weapons you could earn that don't have to specifically be artifact weapons, but that had some sort of similar talent tree with them, where you could do like little like sockets or abilities on the weapon that would make it cooler. And I guess the problem with that is there's so much to balance, because you would have a lot of different balancing things going wrong and things happening. But I don't know. I really like the artifact weapon system, and it was nice not having to worry about your weapon and just having to, you know, be like, whatever. And even when they did things like rings or trinkets or that type of stuff, it was always, I thought it was always a cool thing to have that. And now we don't really have that. And I do kind of miss it. And doing it again in Legion Remix just kind of, you know, sparked my memory on that. Be like, man, that was pretty cool. Especially fishing. Then we have Warfronts. And Warfronts to me were like a cool idea. I wouldn't say they were terrible, but I'd probably put them in the C tier. Like, I thought the concept was cool, but it was like too many people would just go AFK, or it was just, it's one of those things where, again, I think in, like, when they're designing Warfronts, they're like, yo, this could be really cool to get people to do this and like compete against each other, and like there's PvE and there's like all these things, and in reality it just kind of sucked. I think maybe if they added more PvP to Warfronts and made it kind of just this crazy open world PvP zone, that could be kind of cool. But then you start just getting into like Wintergrasp again, right? Which brings us to our next thing, Wintergrasp, which I would put in the B tier. I do kind of miss that idea of like a PvP PvE zone done to that extent, where you have like people fighting against each other in an open world zone, and then it becomes a PvE thing, and you can do stuff there and have fun and be like, woo, we're gonna go do the raid or do the thing, and then go around and do quests, and then there's another battle to take it back. I thought that was always really cool. Now, it did suck sometimes because it would just be very one-sided, which could be a problem, but I think you could probably work around that by maybe slowly adding in some sort of bonus, like maybe the longer the opponent holds the Wintergrasp base or whatever it might be, then you get like a damage bonus the next time it happens, right? So let's say you've lost like 5 times in a row. Now when you start fighting your opponent, you're all at like 50% damage bonus, maybe 50% health bonus. So it's like really pushing you to be like, hey guys, it's time for you to it's time for you to take this shit back, right? And I think that'd be cool, because I miss that type of thing where you'd be flying around in the world and be like, ooh, Wintergrasp, I'm gonna go like fly down there and see what's going on, or see if I can help out. And I think there's something to be said about that interaction with the world, especially as like a world PvP type of thing. And if you couldn't tell, I'm very big into like world exploration, world interaction. It's why I do things like Pointless Top 10. I love exploring. And so I kind of miss that type of thing. So I would put it in the B tier. Next up, Torghast. Torghast is interesting because I don't like Torghast. I did so much Torghast to try and get mounts and various other things. But here's the thing. I think I would still put Torghast in the B tier because I think it has so much potential that they just missed out on. Like when I first thought of Torghast, I thought they were going to be like, dude, this is... you can go crazy, right? They're just going to allow you to become almost like in Remix, where you get towards the end of the Remix events and you become like super players, right? You're just like beating everything up. You're just like a god. You're like, and I thought it was going to be like that, where at first it starts out and you're like, oh, I kind of suck. And you get all these different abilities and you build up your character and you build up your, you know, crazy stuff. And by the end of it, you're just going in there and you're just like, right? And you got all these different moves and cool stuff. And it just kind of wasn't that. It was just kind of, it's just kind of boring after a while. So I would love if they brought it back in some way, but made you like get like goofy overpowered in it. You know what I mean? Just like crazy abilities. You snowball, you ramp up so hard, and you just go sicko mode by the end of it. But at the same time, I'm like, I have too many bad memories from Torghast. Next up, we have Brawlers Guild. Call me crazy, but I actually love the Brawlers Guild. I'm gonna put it in the S tier. I don't know why they stopped doing it. And I'm actually working on a pointless top 10 that involves the Brawlers Guild, with like pointless top 10 arenas, coliseums, that type of thing. And it's such a cool area. Like going there is really cool. It's almost like a little fight club. And I thought it was a cool type of solo PvE experience where you get to fight these little boss fights. And I always thought it was cool that people could stand there and watch you and like cheer you on. It was just, I thought the Brawlers Guild was cool. And it seems like whenever I look it up, people are like, yo, I miss the Brawlers Guild. I love the Brawlers Guild. And I'm like, why'd they remove this? It reminds me of sports games when sometimes Madden and all these games would add shit in. And people would be like, this is awesome. And then they'd remove it and be like, all right, we'll get rid of it. And they're like, why'd you get rid of it? And they're like, I don't know. And then they come back like 10 years later, like, guys, we brought it back. And it's like, why'd you remove it? And that's how I feel with the Brawlers Guild. I feel like the Brawlers Guild's just a cool thing that they just removed. And I don't know why. Yeah, I don't know. Bring it back. Then we got Island Expeditions. Here's the thing with Island Expeditions. This is another one that I'm gonna put in the B tier, because I actually liked Island Expeditions, but I didn't like doing them over and over and over and over and over and over again, because that's what bothered me. Like whenever I would try to grind out some Island Expedition stuff, first off, it triggers like post-traumatic Azerite stress disorder. Just being like the wounds champion, the Azerite. But I did enjoy the concept of it. I thought it was cool, right? You're going around on these islands trying to gather the resources, the Azerite, and competing back and forth. But just having to spam them is what I feel like Torghast is kind of the same. Having to do it over and over and over again was just so bad. I would rather they make it like maybe a longer type of thing, but more fun, and that you only have to do it a couple times a week. Like, I would much rather it be like that than being like, I have to spam, sorry, I doinked the mic. I have to spam like 50 Island Expeditions. Like, even doing them now to get old content shit, like, I'll just run around on my warrior, ground slamming and spinning and doing shit, just being like, all right, wipe this place out. And then you're just like, all right, we got to do it again. It's just tiresome. And I'm like, this is such a cool thing that they could have made better. And they didn't. And I hate that. Like, to me, it feels like Torghast all over again. Like, I feel like if they just added a roguelite element to Island Expeditions and made it kind of crazy in that way, it would actually be a lot of fun. So, and even like a PvP, because I know you're always like fighting the Alliance and the Horde on that thing. So I think there's ways they could go about making them really cool, but they're just not currently. Then we have the drive system from Undermine. And this one, I've seen a lot of people be like, dude, why don't we do more with drive? Like, it was cool. You got to get your car, your vehicle. And I would actually put this in the C tier because I don't hate it. And I think it'd be cool if we had some similar systems to drive. Like maybe, for example, if we were to go to an underwater zone again, like Vazgir, maybe you could make a little boat or a submarine or something that you could like pilot around, like, woo! And it's very much tailored for that zone specifically. So I think it's a cool concept they could bring back and have fun with and play around with. But as of making it a main feature in the game, I'm like, nah. I think I'm all right. I think it's very zone specific, but like I said, I'd be open for them doing something similar if the zone felt like it could use something like that. You know what I mean? So yeah. Then we have the Tiller's Farm. And I'd actually put this one in the A tier. I thought the farm was really cool. I thought it was fun to have something to go to every day and be like, ooh, I'm gonna water my plants. I'm gonna, till the soil. I'm gonna fight the weird rabbit mouse guy that's attacking my stuff and like all these little things. Like I thought that was really cool. And I think it would actually fit the modern game pretty well, right? Like you could have it be with player housing You could like, oh, you could put a farm on your player house, or maybe you could have like a little plot of land next to your house that's like a farm, or just something that's like tied into. Maybe they could put it on like one of the areas there's no housing allowed at, and it just zones you into your specific farm, or maybe it zones into your, whenever you go onto your plot of land, your farm appears. I don't know. I think farming would actually be really cool to bring back, and I feel like most people enjoy farming types of I was gonna say scenarios. That doesn't make sense. Like farming types of games, or chill types of events and things to do, and I think it just fits in really well with that. So I would love if they brought back the little farms, right? I don't know. I mean, I don't know how they would do it, like I was getting at, but I do think it would be a lot of fun to do. And then finally, we have the Azerite abilities, I believe they were called, it was like Azerite armor, the Azerite, it was kind of like glyphs, you know, with like slotting all different stuff. And I always thought this was pretty cool. I know they had some issues with it early on, and obviously, again, people, when they hear Azerite, they're just like, it's one of the reasons people don't like BFA. But I mean, I loved BFA because of all the zones and the music, and I just thought it was a great expansion in terms of the art and all that. And I mean, I thought the system was cool. And I think towards the end, they actually got it a lot better than what it was at the start. And I think a lot of the problems with Azerite stemmed from just like the shitty treadmill design they had and like balancing issues. But it feels like it had a lot of opportunity to be this cool system where you progressively like earn these different things. And I think at the final point of the Azerite armor thing was like a cosmetic thing where it's like you go earn this tier of cosmetic, but you don't have to. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I'd probably put this in like the A tier. I thought it was a cool system. I mean, I think it's cool when they do those types of things and they're not game-breaking abilities or crazy things, just like little buffs that you can add to maybe your gear or your you know, whatever it might be. But again, this kind of ties into glyphs in a way where I just love having little things to customize, right? Like, ooh, I can pick a different trait. I can pick a different like skill or a stat buff or a shield or like all these different things, right? And I love that little customization. And so I would love if they kept it in some way that made sense and didn't make people, you know, super overpowered or that type of thing, but just added a little bit of flavor. And I think that's the type of system that could add class flavor in various ways. And so I like that, and I would probably bring it back in some way that wasn't game breaking or, you know, encouraging like min-maxing, although people are going to min-max anything, but I think you get what I'm saying. So there we go. I've ranked everything. Let me know if you agree or disagree down in the comments section below. And that's another goofy Crendor tier list in the books. If you want more, I'll put a couple more tier lists up on the screen. I just made one ranking WoW cities based on how long I would live there or why I'd want to live there. And then I'll put one of my other ones up there as well. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Okay? Okay. See ya.